Hello, so if you're joining us today, I am doing a tutorial on how to divide dahlias. You may have purchased dahlia tubers from us at the farm in the spring and planted them in, and after your first frost, when your dahlias have turned black and the foliage has died back, you'll cut that foliage down, and with a shovel or a pitchfork, you'll dig pretty deep so as to not to disturb the tubers, and you'll pull up this beautiful clump. So your one tuber will turn into quite a few tubers. You're going to store these, as the instructions say, in about 45 to 50 degrees. We store ours in a basement in big bulb crates where they can breathe a little bit. We also leave the dirt, we clean a little bit off when they come out of the ground, but the dirt helps to keep them safe from dehydration and rot. And we sometimes add a little peat moss as well to our more susceptible varieties. Such as our dinner plate. Sometimes they can easily dehydrate in storage, so as extra security, we will add peat moss to those crates as well. It's always a good idea and will help get you a little early sprouting as well. So this is a healthy tuber clump. So you can divide in the fall, or you can divide before you plant in the spring. We divide before we plant in the spring. We just usually don't have time in the fall. So this is a healthy clump. I took this out of storage yesterday. You can see the eyes here. Nice, big, healthy tubers. Still a little dirt on that. What you don't want is a clump that looks like this. Now we've got some mold here. There's a lot of dehydration in the tubers. Something like this, even if it has a little growth on it, is very unhealthy, and you do not want to plant this in the ground. So unfortunately, it means you lost it during storage. But that happens sometimes. It can be very tricky, and it might take you a couple years to figure out how to properly store them. So we'll toss this one away. Now, it's really important before you divide dahlias is to clean your clump off. So now I have a nice clean clump. Very healthy tubers. They're very firm. They're not broken. And there's a lot of really nice growth here. Just like a potato, dahlias put out little eyes, which is where you're going to see the growth of that future flower. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm just going to clip off with a nice pair of sharp clippers. These are ARS pruners from Amazon, but just make sure they're nice and sharp and clean. Please be careful not to cut yourself. So I'm going to just cut some of those broken tubers off of the main neck, which is this right here. This was your plant last fall. So now you can see these eyes here. And what I'm going to do is just carefully insert my clippers right into there. Still want to, keep that tuber nice and intact, because that's going to provide the nutrients to your plant to grow. So here we are here. So see, we've got a nice eye here, a nice full clump. And just to clean it up, I'm just going to take these little loose hairs off. Now I planted, this was one clump when I dug it up last fall, and this is a really healthy, productive variety. This is called Cornell. Puts out always, beautiful, beautiful eyes that I can see. So it's really important, as I carefully use my pruners to clip the tuber off the neck, is keeping that intact. Keeping a little bit of the neck, making sure that your tuber is not broken, is not scarred or cut from when you dug them up. And then just a nice little cleanup. Just make sure everything is secure There's some nice eyes there. Sometimes they're putting out even greater eyes, which, you know, will mean that you might get growth a little bit sooner. I will divide mine about 10 days to 2 weeks before we put them into the ground, and I'll put them back in a little bit of peat moss. And that just helps to pre-sprout them a little bit more. So, you know, you're not going to get every single tuber on the clump. So sometimes you might lose one. This is sort of hanging off. I'm just going to clip this guy right off. And then we can see here, I can turn this into multiple tubers. We've got all these eyes here. So I'm just going to carefully clip that off. And sometimes the eyes are really hard to find. You know, they're usually starting to poke out. Sometimes you can just, with your fingernail, just bring that, what you think is an eye, sort of back a little bit, and you'll see a little bit of green growth, which means it will eventually put out a flower. I usually just plant the strongest ones that have the strongest eyes. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm just gonna keep one of those tubers on. So now look at all those healthy eyes on there. So that this is a great tuber for planting. And I'm just going to ditch some of the ones that didn't make it. You know, when you're cutting into there, sometimes you're going to lose them. Sometimes, you know, you can take a bigger pair of clippers and just sort of go in there and break the entire clump up. Sometimes that just, you know, makes it a little bit easier. Again, you're going to lose some of those. That's okay, because your one tuber is really going to turn into, on a really healthy variety and healthy clump, your tuber is going to turn into even 5, 10, sometimes even 15 tubers, which is pretty awesome. Tubers can be originally kind of expensive, but they multiply every year. So it does take time to build up your stock. If you are a flower farmer and you're growing commercially. All right, so I've got, you know, I've got a broken neck here. See how this is sort of hanging off of that? That means it's not going to get the nutrients to the eye like we want it to. So I'm just going to eliminate that. This one here, these are broken. When I dug them up with my pitchfork, I must have hit that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those off as well. But here we have a nice healthy tuber, and look at all those eyes on it too. I hit it a little bit at the end, but that's okay. I think that'll be fine. So here we are again, nice healthy tuber. And I've got another one here. I'm just going to break this off. So get it nice and clean and trimmed off. This is broken here. So again, I'm just going to snip that right off and then just clean it up a little bit. And it's got all these nice, beautiful eyes on it. Just going to clean that off. Get this old stuff out of the way. And I've got a little bit left on my clump, so I'm just going to continue to snip those off the neck and choose the healthiest tubers. Just clean that up a little bit. Nice healthy eyes. Still have a little dirt in here, and that's why it's really important to get all that dirt off when you're washing them before you divide, so you can easily see the eyes. I've divided a lot of dahlias, so I feel like I can see them a lot easier even with dirt on them. But if you're a beginner, it's really good to get these nice and clean. You can always keep a bucket of water as well, and as you're cleaning, you can just dip that tuber into the water so you can see it a little bit more clearly. That's always a good option to do as well. All right. So I'm pretty much done with this clump. I probably could have gotten more, but I was really trying to, you know, get some really nice tubers with the healthiest eyes, and I have a lot of these in storage. So my one clump, you know, that was one tuber that I planted last spring turned into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plants, which is excellent, and that's exactly what you want. So I hope this tutorial was helpful, and happy planting with your dahlias.